Welcome to ATI Pro Media. It's Wednesday, October 30th. We're back, baby. We got flash sales on the books. We got it's good to see them back here. But the grain markets, they're kind of chopping around here this morning. Not sure which way they want to go. Cattle bleeding a little lower here as well too. But first, we got a nice show built for you. We'll run through a few headlines. We're going to talk cattle. We're going to talk about the ag economy, farmer sentiment, talk a little bit about Ukraine, ARC, PLC. We'll run through those flash sales and get through those headlines here. But first, let's check in with your markets. We're going to go on out to the ranch here. Let's go to the ranch. Let's go out to Huck Ranch and check in on cattle country when we walk through these markets. Oh, isn't that peaceful here? The sun coming up this morning. Let's dive into the markets. Dees corn, we're down 3/4 cent at 4.13. No beans up 9.5. Wheat's up 2.5. Feeder cattle down $1.60 to $2. Fat cattle down 85 cents to $1. Lean hogs are up 82 cents. Let's look at crudes up 83 cents. Diesel's up 2 cents. Jump on over to your equities. Looking at the Dow, there we are, Wall Street. Dow's up 112 points, S&P up a point, and the NASDAQ down 57 currently. Bring in my co-host here, Connor B. We'll dive into the show here today. Connor?
Let's do it. There we go. I got to ask, did you take that video of
I think Tommy did when he was there the other day, didn't he?
I don't know. I didn't know if that was a stock video. I'm like, my gosh, that's beautiful. If
It
it's
is
the Huck
beautiful.
Ranch. So,
Oh, the ranch one, the cattle one. Yes, that one I did, absolutely. Yeah, I thought you were
Yeah.
talking about Wall Street. Sorry, Connor. I'm catching up real slow out here today.
I don't know. I mean, Wall Street, it's iconic. I don't know if I'd use the term beautiful. Maybe some would, but no, I was looking
Yeah,
at the Huck Ranch.
built.
Good stuff.
Yep, absolutely. Those are my cows filmed a month ago or so. Yep.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into it, right? Flash sales are back. Good to see. Not some big numbers for soybeans, but we'll take them. 132,000 metric tons soybeans for delivery to China during 24-25. 132,000 metric tons of soybeans for delivery to unknown destinations during the 24-25. Don't we have one more? Do we have some corn sales or something?
Corn.
Yeah, there we are. 273,000 metric tons of corn received in the reporting period for delivery to, you guessed it, unknown destinations for 24-25. So again, right, we still see that unknown. Maybe we'll figure out who it was, right? We'll know in the rear view, I guess, if we see, because we talk about all the time, those flash sales, right? They can be canceled. We've seen it before, but we'll know here in, I don't know, what do you think, Brady, 60, 90 days? Maybe we'll start seeing where these exports are going and we can paint that picture.
Yep, when they go out the door, I guess we figure out where they go when they leave the door. And we get those reports weekly on Monday, and those are the real truth of what's going out the door, those export inspections and shipments. So keep your eye on those. It's great to see these flash sales popping up wherever they go. I don't care where they go, as long as they're going somewhere and getting out shipped out the door.
It's going to be. I don't know if you've heard, but there's an election in about 6 days. It's going to be super interesting to see, do we see China, they're just kind of taking little bites. Do we see them, kind of go by the wayside and sit tight for a little bit, right? I guess maybe it's going to depend who's elected, but gosh, this market's going to move, I think, in the next 2 weeks, right? Regardless if there was an election or not, I still think we could see some volatility, but time will tell there.
Yep. I can't wait to get past this next week here. But
you don't love all the political ads on Twitter, and if you're watching something,
it's like Groundhog Day. Every morning we wake up and it's election. I just want it to go away, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk quick outside markets. We saw U.S. economy grew. GDP grew at a 2.8% pace in the third quarter, less than expected. That was below the 3.1 estimate and the 3% that we saw in quarter two. So a little bit slower, right? Again, we're going to see a whole lot of news. We're going to see, when is the rate cut? When's the Fed meeting? Is that right after the election or right before?
That's a good point. I think it's after. I think it's the 8th, 9th.
I think you're right.
In the 8th to the 12th, somewhere in there. I'd have to get a specific date, but not sure. There's meeting there, and then I think the December one's a big one as well. But speaking of rate cuts, with the sentiment changing from, looking like less aggressive rate cuts from where we were a month ago. That US dollar is moving, Connor. I don't know if I actually probably we should throw up a chart here as we end up,
let's do it.
but see if it's moving. Let me see if I can grab that real quick and throw it into the show.
Yeah, go ahead. Here, I'll you do that. I'll go ahead and take this one on. Big headline that we saw: super microcomputer down 30. I think it's almost 35%. Now when I looked, but significantly down. Right, this is a company that's in that AI space. I believe in the that chip area. But basically, we saw Ernst & Young, their auditor, basically sent them a resignation letter that said disagreement with the firm over its governance and board independence. And so I don't know about you, Brady, but if the person auditing me says we want no part in this, it's not really a good sign. So they've had issues and just significantly down. Let me look up, and just why we're bringing this up, it was something about their market cap, just how big these companies are. They're no NVIDIA, but we're looking at, shares of Supermicro joined the S&P 500 in March, surged 246% in 2023. So big numbers, big moving, but looks like they're having some issues, and we're seeing Ernst & Young, their auditor, drop out. So interesting to see.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I got that dollar chart up here for
Let's pull it up
onto the show. Look at that move here. This is a weekly U.S. dollar index chart. We've just seen we kind of rolled over and the dollar softened up July into and really bottoming out the September timeframe. And since that end of September, during the month of October, we've rallied back up into this 104 type area.
So, and bring that home when we're talking exports, strong versus weak dollar. We see that if the dollar is climbing, what could that potentially mean for exports, Brady?
Yeah, it's a good point. Huge with our competitiveness out there, right? Versus Brazil. And I think you got to break the dollar. Looking at the dollar index is one thing, but we got to break it out versus those individual currencies. The Japanese yen, the Brazilian real, the Mexican peso. The dollar index gets very heavily weighted against the euro. So we kind of got to look at those other nuances. What is it relative to the Brazilian currency? But it's all our rate cuts, and what are those other nations' monetary policies? What they do with their money and their rate affects their currency and ours. So individual relative to each other. Big picture.
Yeah, well said.
Deeper than my expertise.
No, I think you did a great job breaking it down. But from there, I want to talk a little. We saw some ARC County and PLC payments released. If you want to jump into that, yeah. So 2023 ARC County PLC payments have released because we see that marketing year average. It's always going to be a year behind, right? We average it into, I think, August 1st, maybe it's September 1st. Don't quote me on that. And then we get a payment come end of October. And so I have some charts there. First off, PLC, right? The price loss coverage. We didn't break below. That one is simply if the price is below their trigger price, you're going to get a payment. We weren't even close to low enough in 2023. I believe those averages they're in like it's got a 3 in front of it, and I think soybeans is like a 9, maybe even an 8. Brady, don't quote me on that. So no PLC payments if you took price loss coverage, but ARC County, depending on yield, right? It's a county-based policy. We did see some payments. Nothing in my neck of the woods. Illinois, no payments. Yields were strong enough, but you get in your area, Brady, especially in Nebraska. We're looking. If you took ARC County, you're probably looking at getting a payment. Very little in Iowa, parts of Missouri, but really it's Kansas, Nebraska that I see that we're looking at. You could look at getting a payment if you took that ARC County policy.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
So same thing on soybeans. It's really similar area, a little bit in Kansas and then Nebraska. And so we'd seen it. If you took ARC County and you're in that area, you got a payment, send us a message, right? What's it looking like for 2024? Because we won't know 2024 until this time in 2025, right? It averages all the way through. And with these lower prices, right, yields, yields are going to cover us if we have some really good yields. But, who knows if we see some weaker prices going forward, maybe the PLC pays. It's always an interesting. I always say I like debating which one works for your operation. It's fun for me to talk about. But at the end of the day, you should really hope we're not getting a payment with either one, right? Because that means that we're talking significantly lower prices, or we're really being hurt on yield.
Yep. Hopefully those, PLC, ARC, and crop insurance. Hopefully those are not that is not your risk management or marketing plan and strategy. We hope it's not, because looking from those maps, it didn't look like a whole lot of areas received much for payments on that front.
No, not at all. Not at all. So
No.
what else we got?
I want to talk a little bit about farmer sentiment. A graphic that was floating around that was of interest to me was this Purdue Ag Economy Barometer, lowest since March of 16. The farm sentiment out there, so interesting to look at. We get these out once a month. This has been out there for a little bit, but it was floating around on the Twitter sphere. I thought it was worth talking about. Flash this graphic up there. This is a look at the Purdue's Ag Economy Barometer, just a poll out, and what are you feeling good about the ag economy? Are you feeling bad about the ag economy? And a lot, it's definitely rolled over since that 21 time frame. When you break this down, going and actually looking at the survey data is very interesting to me. And when you break this down, you can look at what are the areas of concern and how have they changed each month. And we can see there on that left, lower crop and livestock prices is a growing concern. It's a significant concern. Also, that higher input costs, not growing quite as much, but that as this market has drifted lower prices is becoming a bigger concern out there, according to this survey. So interesting to me, Connor.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really surprised it's all the way back to 2016. I would have really thought, 2020, that summer of 2020, I would have thought the sentiment had to be terrible, right? Where it just felt like, and I guess it was, it wasn't
flashed
good
down there, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, but we didn't break, and I guess then things changed so quickly. So maybe if I wanted to spin that positively, look at that 2020, right? When things are negative, we have a way of turning around, right? You need to have a plan if it doesn't turn around, but things can change quickly.
I like what you said there, Connor. That's huge. The sentiment, if you're making your farm decisions based on the sentiment or the feeling of today and the emotions of today, that's kind of a recipe for disaster, in my opinion.
Yeah, yep, absolutely.
What do we got next?
Yeah, pop it up. Let's keep banging out. We got a lot of headlines today, a lot of things that I feel like you and I wanted to talk about. Here we go. Cattle selling pressure. What do we got, Brady?
Yep, cattle rolled over yesterday and lower today. I think some major concerns about demand, the resiliency of the consumer, and where the cutout can go from here. We'll get some new graphics out and probably have those for you tomorrow about where the chuck and the round of that cutout are. How long can those hold the cutout where they're at? But definitely some sellers stepping in here to this market. I don't know. My message to producers is don't be late to this party. Still, I go back to yesterday. We've got a plan. I've got a plan. It's more than a concept of a plan. It's an actual plan if the market goes higher. But I don't have a plan if the market goes lower. I can't rewind the clock and give you better prices if we sell off $30-$40 a hundredweight. So,
right. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know what? You said something. I think you're the first one that said it. When you buy puts, right? This puts, LRP, what have you, you buy it when you can, not when you have to.
That's a good saying. I love that one. Yep.
It's yours. It's yours. I stole it directly from you.
I stole it from somebody else. Absolutely. That one's been around for a while. What do we got next, Connor? We rolled through a number of these. Did we roll through them all?
We've been through. Yeah. Oh, here's a good one. Ukraine ag attaché. If I said that wrong, please roast me in the comments. But we saw Attaché cut corn production significantly compared to where the USDA is in Ukraine. Here, give me 1 second, and I'll get you the numbers, Brady.
Okay. Well, it's important. Ukraine's a big exporting country, and I believe 70 to 80% of their corn crop actually goes out of the country. They don't have a strong domestic demand like we do here in the U.S., where a third of much less than a third, but 2 billion bushels out of a 15 billion crop leaves the country. There, you're looking at 70 to 80%.
Yeah. Okay. Here you go. So, Attaché cut its corn production estimate to 23.3 million metric ton, 2.9 below the October WASDE, and the export forecast of 17.8 is 5.2 million metric ton less, and almost less than the October WASDE, and almost 12 million, 465 million bushel down from the 23-24 total. So you want to talk about a significant decrease. And one, right, if they're a U.S. producer, maybe we could see some opportunity there. But right, and then I think the key to keep in mind, and the thing that I got to remind myself, is we're looking at the attaché, right? Well, just because we see that significantly lower doesn't mean that we're going to see the USDA do something drastic in their November WASDE. But very interesting to see.
Yep. Got to pay attention to what's going on out there, and hopefully that can change the sentiment swing out there with that ag barometer if we see some increased exports and export strength here from the U.S. So
yeah, it'd be interesting. If we see Ukraine's exports really weaker, do we see U.S. corn, or maybe it's going to be Brazil corn? Who knows? Flow to that EU, fill that gap. We're usually right. We're seeing these flash sales. Guess what we're seeing? We're seeing Mexico. We're seeing unknown. Maybe that's the unknown buyer. Who knows, Brady? Is it going to the EU?
unknown destinations to the EU. I don't know. Come out and tell us who you are, unknown. We want to know.
Absolutely. Well, with that, do we have any questions? We can go ahead and wrap this up. A good premium from Tommy yesterday. Gold and Bitcoin explode higher, right? It's been a common. Bitcoin, not so much, but my gosh, I don't know how much time gold has broke through record highs. And, depending on how this year continues, we could still see it. So good premium from Tommy. We'll get a couple more out today.
They talked a lot about soybeans in that video too, and actually had, talking about unpriced beans, and he actually had a specific marketing strategy and rec for those that watched that video on soybeans. So be on the lookout for that text and that blast here today.
Yeah, good stuff. Got a question? Give us a call. There's the link. And with that, do we have any questions, Joe? Okay, he's giving us the nod. Here we go. Robert, can you tell me what grain sorghum exports have been? Ooh, good question. We don't talk about sorghum. You got that handy, Brady?
I don't have it in front of me, but I don't think it's as hot as it was a year ago from our unshipped sales book. We're not as in it's definitely not standing out today, but bids out here have been very competitive for Milo grain sorghum, and it's been attractive marketing prices out there. The big question with Milo and grain sorghum is China going to show up to the table and have a big demand pull export deal? And we can see basis because grain sorghum Milo is based off the price of corn, but we see these basis swings based on that corn price. So we can see dynamic basis ranges from $2 over premium versus the board, or 50-cent discount versus the board. So significant risk out there on the basis side of things when it comes to Milo. Haven't seen a real strong program show up yet, but maybe that Ukraine story is the catalyst that maybe gets them interested in more U.S. grain sorghum.
Sure. I pulled up export inspections that we saw Monday, and the week of the 17th, we saw, or even going back to the I'm looking at this wrong. Last week we saw very strong exports, a little bit less than last year. This past week ending October 24th, significantly lower on sorghum. Now, I'm not an expert in Milo, and I definitely don't look at Milo exports week in, week out. So maybe if we're talking a lower quality, we could see that big fluctuation. It's not uncommon. I don't know that, but significantly lower inspections this past week.
Yeah, I believe that. That's kind of a program, if you'd look at the shipment curve, where it would hit like Dece through June timeframe. I mean, Milo's kind of the later crop that you harvest out here. So it's not much of it's going to be getting shipped out the door right now. It's going to take a while to get there and get shipped.
Sure.
Sure. Good stuff.
Luke, Ford's losing almost 60,000 for every EV they have sold this year. Liquid fuels are still the way to go for the vast majority. 60,000 for every EV. It's almost unbelievable, Luke, that Ford's losing almost $60,000 for every EV they have sold this year. I had to read that 3 times just to make sure I got it.
You're not sharing fake news with us, Luke, are you? That's fact check that. Let's fact check that.
Isn't it amazing how fast the sentiment changes? Where I'd love to go back and talk to us a year ago, where we saw the government mandates where they wanted to push EVs. It felt like it was going to be, to me, it felt like it was going to be a tidal wave, right? We were just going to see the EVs just take over, right? If you were in a big city, you're going to be driving EV. It hasn't happened yet, right? And I don't know, time will tell if we're still, on the horizon, or if it's going to happen quickly, who knows, right? So
Yeah.
it's kind of like how Ernest Hemingway, they asked him how he went broke, and he said, slowly, then all at once. Maybe we'll see that.
Slowly, then all at once. Yeah. Well, our early conversation, go back a year, talking with Joe Gersafi down there, about automobiles and the hybrid type stuff. And I just fall in love with the hybrid type approach with it. And it seems like we're gravitating back towards that. And it's just a testament to, you can't cram something down a guy's throat of, you have to do this, you have to do that. I love a free market, and a market that's going to tell you, hey, this is the right answer. Yep.
Well said. Well said. So with that, any closing thoughts, right? Let us know what you want us to talk about, right? Looking forward. The election talk's going to continue to get more and more on the forefront. We'll be paying attention to that definitely next week, but we'll see how the rest of this week goes, and see what type of price action we get. Right, today first notice day, or am I a day behind? November soybeans.
I couldn't tell you. That's sad, Connor.
I'm
I'm not a bean guy, though. I just don't have many beans out here in western Kansas.
Yeah. So, but anyway, well, with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up the show. Any closing thoughts?
Nope. If you got cattle board's ugly still. Feeders down 280, but you may have missed the top here of this recent move, but it's still not too late to go out and get a floor underneath you. The big question here is this the $5 sell-off that leads to a $50, $60 sell-off. So don't miss the boat, and don't be grabbing onto the last $2 and have it cost you 30.
I just had a question pop in my head. If we're looking, I know they took it away where you could buy LRP after the commitment of traders report. Could we do the same thing around the election? If we get a not so good reaction in the stock market and in the cattle market, can we go ahead and get LRP?
That's a good question. Good. I'm looking at the calendar.
The timing probably wouldn't work, would it?
Yeah, the results of you can buy LRP up to 8:25 in the morning. So you could potentially get to that morning and say, call Brady and say, hey, I want to do something. It's 8:00. Can we get it in time? So you could. It's not blocked out on the calendar, as far as I know, as a day that you can't. If you were limit down the day before, that could close us out for being able to do it. But good thought, good question.
It's a question, but here's the truth: is if we got our cattle marketing plan based on who's getting elected, then here's the truth: is we don't have a marketing plan. So,
amen. Yeah.
So, all right, let's wrap it up. Have a good one.
See you, Connor. Bye.
Thanks for joining us. We're here every day, 9 a.m. Central. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.